Hi everyone, I hope you are well. Welcome to this webinar today from Unionlearn, which is on higher learning. My name is Louisa and I'm one of the project officers at Unionlearn, and I will be facilitating today's webinar. Before I introduce today's speakers, just a few sort of housekeeping points to do with Crowdcast, the platform we're using today. Down the right-hand side of the screen, you'll see there's a chat panel. Please use this to say hi to everyone and share ideas throughout the webinar. I see some of you are doing that already. That's brilliant. Also, just to say, my colleagues from Unionlearn will be on hand as well to answer any questions in the chat and also put up any useful links as well of anything that we mentioned throughout the webinar. But if you do have a question for one of the speakers today, please use the Ask a Question button at the bottom of the screen, and we'll get round to answering those questions towards the end of the webinar. We have my colleague Yusuf running things behind the scenes today. Thanks, Yusuf. But we'd like to apologise in advance if we do have any problems with any sound or visuals. We'll try to sort any problems out as quickly as we can. Just to say, this webinar is being recorded and will be available soon on our YouTube channel and also on the Unionlearn webinars page. So as I said, today's webinar is all about higher learning and taking your skills to the next level. We're delighted to be joined today by two speakers. First up, we have Julie Gowan from the Open University. Julie is the Assistant Director in the Office of the Pro-Vice-Chancellor of Students Office at the Open University. Her current role is to lead institutional initiatives aimed at increasing the retention, success and satisfaction of OU students. Julie has worked for the OU for over 30 years and has a background in widening participation, working with national partners, including unions, to reach, inspire and support learners who may not think that university study is for them. So thanks, Julie, for joining us today. We also have Sophie Swain with us from Birkbeck University of London. Sophie is an Access and Outreach Officer at Birkbeck University of London, based in the Access and Engagement Department, which supports learners for underrepresented groups into university. Sophie works specifically with trade union members and reps to raise the profile of higher education to adult learners and encourage learners to explore their options around coming to university wherever they are in their life. So a warm welcome to you both. Thanks ever so much for joining us. So let's get started with some questions. So Sophie, I'd like to ask you this one first. What sort of things are available to help support adult learners to get into higher learning?
Well, really good to be here and thanks for inviting me. So in terms of things that are available, it's about the information, I think, in the first instance, but also having the opportunity to experience what university learning is all about. So for example, the Access and Engagement team at Birkbeck has lots of events and different activities to offer tasters of university study in different subjects. So we've had recently some law taster courses which are running, and we'll be running some more in the future in the new year. And our email address will be in the chat if you want to reach out and find out how to book on those. There are also lots of other kind of specific programs for adults returning to study. So, for example, Coventry University, I think they'll be able to pop the link into the chat box there, but they have a series of events called Connect, which again is for adults returning to study. And there's also a series of videos from Birkbeck called Get Started, which are kind of for adults interested in studying at university. That takes you all the way through from kind of the first thoughts about it up to kind of making an application and going forward as well. So I think, you know, especially for those who've been out of the classroom for a number of years and are wanting to go to university, it's definitely about having those opportunities to kind of get experience of university. But equally, if learners already know that they want to go into higher education and they're looking for a pathway into that, one starting point would be, for example, to do an access to higher education course at a local college. So that's a level 3 qualification to apply to university, and that is kind of in the place of the traditional A levels, which many universities accept. But lots of universities, including Birkbeck, offer foundation years or certificates in higher education, which allow you to start more gently and kind of get an introduction to university study before progressing on to a full degree. So it's important really just to do research. Different universities have different entry requirements, and so it's worth having a look to see what's available and what the entry requirements for those courses are. Something like whatuni.com or a UCAS, the UCAS search is a good starting point, and that also allows you to see whether courses are full or part-time, which may be, depending on the learner, they may want to study at either full or part-time if they want to combine it with work.
Brilliant. Yeah, thank you. That's really useful. Yeah, I've watched those get started videos. I think they're really, really useful for people to sort of cover different aspects of getting started and what's required and that kind of thing. Julie, is there anything you wanted to add on that question?
Yeah, thanks, Louisa, and hello. And thank you for inviting me to this session. It's really great to be here. So, as Louisa said, I'm from the Open University. We're the largest UK university. We've helped over 2 million people. Would you believe? We've been going for about 50 years. We have about 175,000 registered students and about between 70 and 80%, I think it's about 77% at the moment of our students combine their studies with work. So we predominantly serve the adult learning population. And most of our students are working, got families, other commitments, and are using their study time, to juggling around those other life commitments. I think, we offer a range of informal to formal courses. So we offer lots of free online courses and all the way through to formal undergraduate, postgraduate qualifications. I think that when somebody's thinking about higher learning, from our perspective, it's really about making sure that students get on the right course at the right point, at the right intensity, with the right subject in order to succeed. So we put quite a lot of effort in, like Birkbeck do, to make sure and support students to enable them to make that really informed decision. So I would suggest that students, you go to the websites, we have an open, what we call Open site, which has hundreds of thousands of courses on it, extracts from our actual formal modules where, like Birkbeck do, it gives you a taste of that learning. We've also got an online course called Becoming an OU Student, which kind of gives some generic feeling about what it's like to be an OU student. But I would also suggest that, people do their research. So talk to people, talk to your peers, talk to other students that have studied higher qualifications. Really think about what qualification you're studying for. It might not be the full degree that you want, or you might want to chunk it down and think about, starting small and then gradually building your confidence and your skills. I would also suggest that for a lot of students, it's people are worried about their study skills, don't have the confidence, think that higher learning is something for people that, different people to them, and it's absolutely not. I mean, it's so accessible these days, and at the Open University, we don't have entry requirements. So we have what we call an open entry policy. So you don't need, the traditional A levels to come and study with us. If you haven't studied for a long time, though, and if you feel that you need to develop your skills and confidence before signing up for an undergraduate program, then we have lots of things available to help to support people in that situation. So we have a range of access courses that are developed, to give students a taste of the subject, to test whether they like studying with the OU, and also to think about, developing confidence and skills before then embarking on a full course. So I would suggest, think about the steps, you take before you sign up for that that qualification. Some people got the confidence and skills just to sign up and embark and get going. Other people need a bit more support. And I would also say that in addition to that kind of self-serve research, talking to people, then I can't sort of advocate any strongly. Our advisors are there to help you. So our advisors are very experienced with kind of guiding students through in terms of how to enable them to make a more informed decision, including the use of diagnostics and free content, etc., etc.
Brilliant. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, I totally agree. And I think there's so much out there now, isn't there, to help people, to help them get prepared and sort of feel ready. And as you mentioned, there's the various websites you can make use of, like Open Learn and Future Learn and things like that. Just to say as well, so Sophie, we're just going to talk a bit about first steps and ways you can prepare. That kind of sort of links into that. Is there anything you'd like to share on that? What sort of things can people do as a first step? Can you hear me?
I can hear you.
We can't hear you, Sophie, I don't think. Sorry. Oh, we can't hear you.
Yeah, apologies, Lou. I'm trying to unmute Sophie's mic, but it's not letting me for some reason. Sophie, apologies, everybody. Sophie, are you able to log out and log back in? And I'll invite you back on screen if that's okay.
So I'll just carry on. So yeah, just to say, as we were saying about lots of resources that are available and about sort of getting started with online learning is a key thing as well. Unionlearn early in the year, we have a dedicated area on our website now on learning at home. And as part of that, we produced a number of sort of videos and information for people about getting started with online learning. And some of my colleagues did some videos on the different platforms, Julie, like Open Learn and Future Learn, and sort of giving people information. Because the key thing here, I think, is union learning reps can really help and can play a key role in helping others by giving them information and helping them out when it comes to making their decisions about their next steps on their learning journey. So Julie, can we move on now and just talk a bit about what sort of options are available for those not wanting to do a full degree or a degree straight away, Julie?
Yeah, absolutely. So many of our students come to us and we have students coming to us that are studying for different reasons. So for example, some of our, we've got career changers, we've got career starters, we've got students that are studying for us just because they're really interested in the subject. We've got students that are studying with us for health and well-being reasons, so keeping the old brain matter going. So with that in mind, it's really important to think about what a student wants to study for. So we absolutely don't want to encourage students to sign up for a full degree if that's not what they want. So we offer what we call milestone qualifications. So there's a certificate of higher education that is the equivalent of 1 year full-time study. There is diplomas of higher education that are the equivalent of 2 years of full-time study. And then you've got the full sort of honours degrees that are the equivalent of 3 years of full-time study. And at the OU, you can break that down. You don't have to do that sort of full-time equivalent intensity. So most of our students study what we call our 60 credit courses or our 30 credit courses. So a 60 credit course is half time, it's part time, it's half time. And if you're in England and you want to get a loan for your studies, you will need to sign up for a qualification. But you don't need to sign up for the full degree. You could sign up for a certificate of higher education and do 2 60 credit courses, maybe one a year if that's what you wanted to do, and then you could claim your certificate of higher education. And then what we would be saying to you is, okay, so how did that go? Is that enough for you, or do you want to carry on? If you want to carry on, you can then carry on and do your level 2 OU level 2 study, and then do another 2 60 credit courses at that level, and then you can claim a diploma of higher education. And then if you really want to continue, and you can go on and do your full degree. So what that enables students to do is kind of chunk their study down into manageable chunks. For some of our students, if they're studying it part-time, it could take them 5 or 6 years to get a full degree. Some of our students want something a bit quicker than that, but they haven't got the time to study full time. So by chunking it down to those milestone qualifications, it actually enabled students to claim a higher education award. And essentially what you're getting is 3 certificates for the price of 1.
Brilliant. Oh, that's fantastic. So there's lots of options available there, and sort of there's various things that people can do, and different tastes and things will help. And then obviously if they get the learning bug, hopefully they'll continue their learning and go on to a degree and further. Brilliant. Thank you. We did sort of touch there briefly a bit about finance, but Sophie, I don't know whether you could tell us a bit more about sort of what financial support might be available for people, because obviously that can be a barrier. And also, if there's any information about where people can look to find out more information about finance, that'd be great. Are we back on? Yes.
Hopefully it's working
Yes,
now. So sorry
you,
about that, everybody.
No.
Yeah, so I mean, I understand that finance is a big question when it comes to actually how to pay for the studies. As Julie touched on previously, there are tuition fee loans and maintenance loans available from the government, and those are available to cover both the costs of the course as well as living expenses and other costs associated with studying through the maintenance loan. And it's definitely worth looking into. We can share some resources about kind of breaking down what that actually means. But essentially, if you are eligible, the loans are available, and you can take those out to cover your tuition fees and your maintenance. The key thing really is to understand that the student loan, although it looks like a lot of debt up front, you actually won't be paying your student loan back until you graduate for a start. So during that time, interest will be accrued. So at the end of your studies, you will have a kind of a final debt that will continue to accumulate. However, you only pay back 9% of what you earn over the income threshold for repayment. So at the moment, that's £26,575. And so actually, if you're paying 9% of everything over that back, it doesn't accrue, it doesn't amount to very much. So Martin Lewis, as a lot of us kind of know and love, he's the money saving expert. He's actually suggested that students think more about the loan in terms of a tax, since you'll basically be paying it back out of your pay packet every month for the rest of your career. If at any point your salary drops below the threshold, which as I said is just over £26,000 a year at the moment, then you don't pay any of that loan off until such time as you go above the threshold. And for those who are particularly approaching retirement, or maybe looking to take out a degree later in life, obviously the repayments that you'll actually be making will amount to a lot less, than you would if you were taking out a degree as a 18-year-old college leaver, school leaver. So it's worth thinking about. Every university has a student advice service, and they do kind of specialist advice around financial situation, what's available, and help you to kind of work through that to make those decisions. And so, that's another good starting point if people have got questions about student finance specifically to their particular circumstances. But also have a look at the different financial support options that are available at different universities. So at Birkbeck, for example, there's financial support available for students at both undergraduate and postgraduate level, depending on kind of what your situation is. And many universities do offer the same. There's also scholarships. So at Birkbeck, we offer scholarship, 2 scholarships a year at undergraduate level for Camden residents, and other universities have different scholarships and bursaries themselves. It's also worth looking to see what funding might be available, for example, through your union. We know some unions have access to learning funds available, so that's another option. And lots, there's different kind of options there. But also have a look on Unionlearn website to see which universities might have a discount available for trade union members. So but we have a 10% discount at the moment, and then other universities, including the University of London, also has the same. So that's something else to think about. And I think it goes back to kind of what I think Julie and I have both been stressing, is about doing research, finding out what's available, and all universities will have that support available. So it's just worth kind of seeing, what's out there.
Brilliant. Thank you, Sophie. Yeah, as you said, do take a look at the Unionlearn website for information there about discounts for union members. Also, yeah, contact your union. And also there's lots of information on the student, on the gov.uk website on student finance. But just to say as well, there's differences, isn't there, between England, Wales, Scotland and Northern Ireland. So do check those out too as well. So on to my next question. So then when someone's on a course, Julie, what sort of support is available to the learner when they're on a course? Ooh.
Yeah, okay, yeah, thanks, Louisa. So yeah, lots of support really. I think, as I mentioned, a lot of our students are studying part-time, or flexing their study around family and work commitments, and that brings with it quite a lot of challenges. And I think we kind of recognize that from our perspective at the OU, that some people perceive distance learning as being distant and unsupported, and actually it's quite the opposite. You'd be really surprised. I did my OU degree a number of years ago, and I kept the fact that I was a member of staff secret. So because I thought it was quite intriguing to find out what other students really thought of the OU. And it was really interesting because a lot of students were saying to me, I did my first degree when I was 18, 40 years ago. And when I came to do my second degree with the OU, I thought it was going to be, really, I was going to be alone and I'd have to be completely independent. And I'm really shocked at how much support you do get. So it's worth kind of really thinking about that and thinking about what support you might need. So, for example, we have our tutors. So our tutors are first port of call, and students are supported by a personal tutor within a tutor group, so they have access to the other students. So there's a lot of peer-to-peer support and collaboration that goes on. We obviously have our advisors in our what we call our student support teams. So we have student support teams set up around the country that relate to specific faculty areas in terms that map across to our curriculum. So very specialist subject support, but also pastoral support. Social media is growing and growing, of course. So we're seeing quite a lot of students contributing to social media, Facebook and Twitter and WhatsApp groups, that more kind of informal self-help, working with other students. We have our what we call our VLE, which is our virtual learning environment. So when you sign up to do a course with the OU, you may get some printed materials, but you'll get quite a lot of content online. You'll get what we call a module website, which has your study planner, your week by week kind of study planner of what you should be doing that week. I think it's fair to say that a lot of students may not follow that study planner, may get ahead, may get a bit behind, but that's the beauty of OU Study. You do your study at times that suit you. We have our subject website, so we have students that really want to get underneath the subject and learn a bit more and think about that kind of broader provision. So every subject has a subject website. We've got I've mentioned student support teams that offer advice to students, particularly around those that potentially might have additional needs. So at the OU, we have, I think it's something like 22,000 students with disabilities, a real mix of students with physical and mental disabilities. And obviously our mode of learning supports students with disabilities because there's no ask to go anywhere, and we can deliver tutorials online, etc. But there's lots of support with students with disabilities and additional needs. So that could be funding, that could be specialist equipment, that could be having a person with you at residential schools and day schools. So I think, yeah, there's a whole range of support for students out there. So that meet a variety of circumstances. So if you're thinking, oh, I can't do that because of this in my life, well, actually, there's probably support out there that you didn't realise was there, and it's worth getting in touch and talking to our advisors about it.
Brilliant. Thank you, Julie. Yeah, and I know on each institution's website, there's lots of information for those with disabilities. So you could search there to find out more about what's available. And quite often there is a lot available there. And just to say as well, touch on you saying about things moving online more, obviously, particularly this year, being the year that we've had, things are moving online. I'm sure lots of cohorts and things have like WhatsApp groups and chats and all that for support as well. But there's just so much out there that's available. I just think it's fantastic. So do take a look when you get a chance. So moving on to my next question then, do you have any advice for anyone who's sort of a bit apprehensive about taking up higher learning? Sophie, could I ask you that one first?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I'm going to touch on what I would have said in the question when my microphone failed me. I think it's just about building that initial confidence, and that is through accessing all sorts of different learning opportunities. So, it's a stretch to jump straight in and do a degree. So why not start off by doing some informal learning in subjects that you're interested in? So Julie's mentioned the OU's Future Learn and Open Learn. There's also all sorts of other different places to find learning through Coursera, TED Talks, podcasts. Obviously, Unionlearn and your unions will be doing a lot as well. Local councils have adult learning services and adult education colleges. Just kind of get a feel for learning, get a feel for what you're interested in learning, and then that will help you to kind of initially get a feel for what it might be like to study a subject in more depth. We've also kind of talked a bit about the research, and it's important for learners to be kind of clear with what's available. So get a feel for the different universities that there are out there. So we've obviously got two quite different universities here speaking to you today. Birkbeck, under normal circumstances, is a face-to-face university. We do evening courses, but obviously the OU is a distance learning provider, so kind of see what's out there and see what might work, for you. Attend open days and open evenings and kind of see what taster sessions might be out there. And also, I think Julie touched on this before, but I want to stress it as well. Talk to other people about things, talk about what it's like to study at university, what courses are out there, whether that's other people in your life or people representing different universities. So at Birkbeck, we've got something called UniBuddy, which is a kind of platform where you can go and speak to current students at the university, and that offers you the chance to sort of find out what it's like and a bit more about what studying could be like. At Birkbeck, people come through all different routes and all walks of life. So our student body is really, really diverse, and people have got a lot of life experience. So you might find somebody similar to you. You might find, you get some tips as well. And I think it's also about kind of seeing, as Julie said, what support is available at different universities as well. So if you have a disability, or if you've got concerns, if you've been out of the classroom for a long time, that you might want to kind of get some help with study skills. So for example, our website has information and resources there that can help you with study skills, but there is all sorts out there across the web, to help you just to get back into it and get to experience what learning is like and the kind of skills that you would be using on a higher education course. I think the other thing to think about is about doing it in a manageable way as well. You don't have to jump in straight and do a degree. You don't even have to do a full-time degree. If you want to do a degree, you can do it over 4 to 6 years part-time. So it's about taking it at your own pace and understanding that, there are also ways in. So Julie talked about the certificate in higher education that the OU offers. We have a similar qualification at Birkbeck, and that allows you to kind of get an experience first of what, the study at that level would be like, and then if you did want to then progress further. So I think it's about making it, bite size and manageable, being realistic about, how much time you can commit, but also, getting that support from those people around you to help you to take those first steps.
Brilliant. Thank you. Julie, I didn't know if you wanted to add anything on that as well, about sort of anyone that's sort of apprehensive.
Yeah, and I think just to say it's completely normal to be apprehensive. Thinking about transitioning into higher learning is a big decision. But I think, I agree with everything Sophie says, but from our perspective, it really is not about bums on seats. We have a duty of care to every single student to make sure that they sign up for the right course at the right pace, at the right intensity, in the right subject area that suits them, that's going to enhance their retention and success. If we have lots of courses that have what we call high attrition rates, where students sign up and then drop out, that is much worse for a university than seeing big numbers come in at the beginning. So we need to work on this together. I mean, one of the challenges for the OU is because we don't have any entry requirements, a lot of our students self-serve and can just register online, and they don't have to talk to us if they don't want to. And because of the scale of our institution, if every university wanted to talk to us, that would also cripple us. So it's actually finding a way to talk to the students that need the support and help in terms of making the decision in what place to start. And I think that's the really important message. Really consider the starting point. Think about the motivation for study. Think about what you want to do, why you want to do it, what you're really interested in, because one of the biggest reasons where students withdraw is because they've got on the wrong course, or they've picked a subject area that they thought would be great or they thought would be interesting, and once they've got stuck into it, it could be in the first year, it could be in year 2, they suddenly think, oh, this isn't where I was hoping to go with this. We do have some qualifications that can rescue students in that situation. We have a suite of qualifications called the open qualifications, and we have a certificate in higher education, a diploma of higher education, and a full degree in what we call open. And these qualifications enable students to mix and match from different subject areas using different modules. So if you do find yourself in a position of, I wanted to do chemistry, and you get in year 3 and it gets really heavy, there is the ability to mix and match qualifications and combine what we call an open qualification. It's a degree, but it's just not a named degree in a particular subject area. And actually, I can't remember the statistic, but I think 70% of graduates who have a degree in the workplace, it's just the fact that they have a degree means that they get a good job. There are obviously some sectors where named degrees are important: law, social work, nursing, etc., teaching. But in many cases, in many sectors and in many employment areas, having a degree will be that kind of qualification that you need to really improve your career prospects and your social mobility. But it might be that you don't need that degree, as we said earlier. It might be that you're just going for promotion in the same company, and you just need to develop some skills. And I think entering into higher education could give you a qualification, but probably more importantly for a lot of people, it's about developing your skills as a learner, being independent, using your initiative, increasing your confidence, being motivated, being a bit more articulate. So all of those kind of softer skills that higher learning will give you.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Thank you, Julie. I found that really useful, and inspiring. I think, and the key thing is, isn't it, for people to find something that they're really interested in, so that gives them, that they enjoy it and they carry on, and that kind of thing. So do make use of the support that's out there and available, as Julie said, and do check out the websites and things. There's lots of useful videos explaining different routes and different facilities and all that kind of thing and obviously different subject areas. There's lots of websites to look into those. Also, we've got information on our Climbing Frame website, a dedicated learning theme all about higher learning and different aspects and where to go and that kind of thing. So do take a look at that when you get a chance as well. We'll come on to some questions in a moment. I just wanted to ask if you had any sort of ideas around sort of benefits to higher learning. We touched upon this kind of throughout, but Sophie, I didn't know if you wanted to add any information about any benefits.
Yeah, I mean, I think Julie's made the case from a kind of employability perspective. It's really beneficial to do a degree. You know, the world of work is changing. It's, you know, there's a lot of skills that doing a degree will give you beyond the qualification itself, and I think that's obviously a very big factor for why a number of people will go to university and take up further study. I also, you know, think that the kind of personal benefits are enormous. You know, the confidence that you gain, the skills that you gain around that. You can be a role model for family and friends. You know, you can get that satisfaction of perhaps in most cases putting yourself out of that comfort zone. But the kind of returns are that, yeah, you get that confidence, you get that satisfaction of achieving that, and especially if it's something that, you know, is new to you, and you're learning after quite a break from the classroom. There is a journey that you go through, but the end result is that satisfaction and that personal, you know, feeling that you've achieved that. And that's what we see time and time again from our graduates. Many come, you know, from work having you know, been out of the classroom for years, and the self-esteem benefits that come from studying that qualification. And as Julie said, you know, before, the universities want students to succeed, so there is that support there. You know, it might seem daunting, that's normal, but don't forget that universities really do want you to succeed. You know, it's about those kind of overcoming those challenges, and there is that support available. But I think, yeah, in terms of the benefits there, the personal ones, but also kind of just from an academic perspective as well. Obviously, universities were set up to further knowledge. So you're getting to learn about things that you might not have kind of thought about in such detail before. You're developing those critical thinking skills. That doesn't just help you in an academic context or at work. It can also help you in your life more generally. You can become, you know, more, let's say, effective at making arguments, for example. You know, you can read the newspaper and discern a little bit more about what's coming through that rhetoric. You know, there's a lot of benefits there, both kind of personally, but also for the wider society. And obviously, you know, we've kind of approached it from today from a what to do if you're coming to university for the first time, but some of you out there or learners that you work with might already have experience of studying at university and want to take that to the next step. Well, you know, the sky's the limit. There are other qualifications that you can do once you've done the first degree. You can go up to postgraduate study to do a master's, and then even a PhD. And all of that knowledge and that research that you're bringing to the world is extremely valuable as well. And I think it's so important, especially you know, in the current climate, the times that we live in, for knowledge and for research to be done from people from all walks of life and from all backgrounds in society as well. I think academia has been dominated for too long, you know, by white middle class people, and I think it's about who are those other voices and how can we hear them. And you know, university and academic research is another way of kind of raising those voices and those platforms.
Brilliant, thank you. That's so inspiring. Yeah, I think it's such a that learning can be such a sort of an achievement, so rewarding, and do so much for you and help you out in so many ways with your future. So let's come on to some of the questions now we've had in. Let's have a look. Okay, we've got one question around sort of how can it enhance the trade union? How can we enhance the trade union learning reps role around this at these difficult times that we're experiencing at the moment? Any thoughts on that?
So I think what we're really keen to work with union learning reps, because obviously you're the conduit person. You're talking to your fellow colleagues within your employment within the workplace, and with the OU, or obviously we operate across all 4 UK nations, it's quite difficult, if I'm honest, for us to make the connection with employment in local settings because of the scale of our operations, much more around having a national strategy. Hence why we work very closely with Louisa and colleagues at Unionlearn, because that helps us to make that connection with employers. But I think that sorry, I've lost my train of thought. Could you repeat that question again?
So how can we enhance, how can the Union Learning Reps role enhance?
Union Learning Reps, thank you. Yes. So we've done a number of sessions with Union Learning Reps where, and we've developed a toolkit for Union Learning Reps, which basically outlines and gives information of all the different types of educational opportunities we offer from the OU. And I know, Sophie, you've got one for Birkbeck as well. So what these toolkits deliver is kind of, if you're talking to somebody who hasn't studied for a long time and wants to do this but doesn't know the best starting place, what should you be talking to them about, in what order? So might be access courses, it might be the free stuff on Openlearn, it might be doing a micro credential for somebody looking for CPD courses. So FutureLearn offers micro credentials where you can get higher education credit. We see a lot of professionals in that space, in the FutureLearn space. We see a lot of students that want more kind of a taste of a subject in the Openlearn space. We see students that come from all different backgrounds that may not be able to, or may be worried about the financial commitment or the time commitment of doing a degree in the access space. So they're kind of testing a number of things in the access space. So I think it's more about what we can do to support Union Learning Reps, actually, to give Union Learning Reps the confidence to talk to their colleagues with confidence about all the different types of provision, because it is a complex world. And you can just tell from what Sophie and I are talking about, our institutions, there's a synergy between our institutions, because we have got a commitment to supporting adult learners, particularly those that are working, that need a bit of flex. But, at the end of the day, there is quite a big significance in what we offer as well. And so it's trying to support you guys to simplify and make sense of it all, in order to talk to your colleagues in the workplace.
Definitely. As Julie said, there are some toolkits available from Open University and also from Birkbeck, and they're on the Climbing Frame website. And as Julie said, it's all about, really, we wanted to make the information available for the Union Learning Reps so they can fully understand what's available, so then they can promote it to their colleagues and their learners and work with them and support them as they're going. And as Julie also mentioned, Unionlearn obviously regularly meet with Julie and Sophie and colleagues in different institutions as well, and through the unions. And we try as often as we can to update you on new things that are coming out, new resources, new tasters, new activities, and that kind of thing. So we do that as well to try and make sure Union Learning Reps are in the know, as so to speak, with what's coming up and what's new as well. We touched upon finance a bit, so we don't need to touch on that question really. I think we've mentioned some stuff on that. The question is, if people already have certificates of higher education, how can they work out what degree their certificates might help them to undertake? Any thoughts on that?
I don't mind taking this one. I think it's about kind of thinking obviously from a practical perspective, if they have a certificate in higher education in a particular subject and they're really interested in that, it's about looking, to see what degrees are available and out there that could kind of tie in quite nicely. Equally, looking at what else is out there. So if they've got the certificate in higher education, but the subject's not quite what they're interested in, but they're looking to kind of move into a different area, then looking at the entry requirements for different courses in that subject. So some courses, some universities have more sort of stringent entry requirements than others. They might want you to have a subject in a Cert HE in a particular subject in order to get onto a course. But I think it goes back to the point we've been making before, is about doing that research and seeing kind of what the options are and understanding. And if you need some further help with that, going along to either an open day at the university or reaching out to that university through their website, or through, you know, other communication channels to get that kind of more tailored advice really as to what, you know, the different options are that are available. I think it's also clear for the person with that Cert HE to kind of have an understanding of what their desired progression route is as well, if they're looking to go into a particular area, or if they're, you know, not sure what their next step is, kind of having that clear as well, before going forward is also a good first step.
Brilliant.
Can I
Thank
just
you.
mention credit transfer as well? Just to say that many universities have credit transfer schemes. So if you've already got some higher education credit, it could count towards a degree. So it's almost like you're topping up. So at the OU, if you already had a cert higher education, you would be able to sign on to one of our open qualifications in year 2. So it would cut the cost and cut the time in order for you to complete that degree. You wouldn't have to go back and start again. Obviously, if you wanted a name degree, you may not get the full year counted. It depends on the module choices, and universities have different arrangements for credit transfer, but pretty much all universities do have schemes for credit transfer. So as I say, if you've got HE credit, be thinking if you want a higher qualification, then you probably don't have to start again. You can come in with credit transfer.
Brilliant. And if people have any sort of individual questions on sort of their specific circumstances, we can, if you contact me after this webinar, I can then help to signpost people to find out more. And also just to say, we have mentioned lots of sort of links and resources throughout the session today. So we'll send those out after so that everyone's got those available to them. So really, we're kind of running out of time now, unfortunately. But just to say, I didn't know if you had any final comments either of you wanted to add, both of you want to add?
I would say it's never too late. You know, it's absolutely never too late. We always say that, you know, at Birkbeck our student population is 18 to 80 plus. You know, it's never ever too late. And whether you do that certificate in higher education, or you know, a module, whether you go ahead further, just see what's out there, and it's never ever too late.
Yeah, I would echo that absolutely. We had a lovely man, 93, graduate this year or last year, and we also, you know, so teenagers right through to twilight years, and as we talked about, there's so many different reasons to study, and one of the big reasons for me is just thinking about lifelong learning. Learning isn't about, you know, when you're 18 and you leave school and it stops. As we all know, learning should and could go on throughout your whole life, because actually it keeps it's really good for your well-being.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thanks so much. I found that so inspiring. And I think it's so great that both Birkbeck and the Open University provide like opportunities for people to fit the learning into their life at a time that suits them and how it suits them. And as you say, it's so important to like never stop learning. Don't ever think, you know, keep going. So for more inspiration and things, do check out the Birkbeck and the Open University websites, as we said. And there's lots of videos on your YouTube channels as well. As I mentioned as well, there's a dedicated learning theme on the Climbing Frame website all about higher learning, where you'll find the ULR toolkits that we mentioned, plus lots of resources and links too. And also on the Unionlearn website, we've got information in a higher learning area on that too. So do take a look at that. Unfortunately, that's all we've got time for. Thank you ever so much to Julie and Sophie for your contributions today. I found it so inspiring and useful. And thank you all for joining us as well. We hope you found it useful. We'll be adding, as I said earlier, we'll be adding this webinar to the Unionlearn webinars page and the Unionlearn YouTube channel, and we will share the resources from this webinar as well. Please don't miss our webinar, which is happening next Thursday, the 3rd of December at 2 o'clock. There's a link to it at the bottom of the screen there, so you can get onto that. It's on ways to manage stress in the current climate. So please join us for that. Thanks ever so much for joining us. Hope you enjoyed the rest of your day. And please join us for another Unionlearn webinar soon. Thank you. Take care, everyone. Bye.
Bye. Bye-bye.